This course was developed to raise the awareness of distracted driving and reduce the risk of distracted driving by public transportation professionals. There is a 15-question quiz that follows this course. In order to earn a certificate, you must score at least 80% on the quiz. You are encouraged to take notes during the course to assist you with the quiz. Remember, once you begin the quiz, you will not be able to go back to review course content. Learning objectives. By the end of this training course, you will be able to explore distractions, describe the consequences of distracted driving, recognize the effects of distractions, discuss managing distractions, and interpret distracted driving rules, laws, policies, and definitions. What is distracted driving? Distracted driving is any non-driving activity in which a person engages that has the potential to distract him or her from the primary task of driving and increases the risk of crashing. There are three main types of distractions. Visual, taking your eyes off the road. Manual, taking your hands off the wheel. Cognitive, taking your mind off what you are doing. Module 1. Exploring distractions. Multitasking is valued in today's society. In our drive for increased productivity, it is tempting to use cell phones and other electronic devices while behind the wheel. Drivers often think they are effectively accomplishing two tasks at the same time. For example, by completing a phone conversation while driving and arriving at their destination without incident. However, two truths exist related to multitasking. 1. People actually do not multitask well. 2. People do not accomplish both tasks with optimal focus and effectiveness. Multitasking is a myth. The human brain does not perform two tasks at the same time. Instead, the brain handles tasks sequentially, switching from one task to the other. Our brain can juggle tasks very rapidly, which leads us to believe we are doing two things at the same time. In reality, the brain is switching attention between tasks, performing only one at a time. A person who is talking on a cell phone while driving is performing both tasks with divided attention. The brain is overloaded by the incoming information, and to handle this overload, it does not process and store all of the information. The brain prioritizes some information for attention and possible action and filters out some of the information. Performance is impaired when this filtered information is not processed into a driver's working short-term memory. As a result, a driver may not be consciously aware of which critical roadway information is being filtered out. This filtering limits the processing of critical information and results in the inability of the brain to alert a driver to potentially hazardous situations. This dysfunction of the neurological system is why critical warnings of navigation and safety hazards are missed when drivers are engaged in cell phone conversations, texting, or other distractions. What distracts drivers? National Highway Traffic Safety Administration identifies the following as the top 6 distractions for drivers. Talking with passengers, adjusting the radio or CD player, texting, using a cell phone, reading a map or newspaper, personal grooming. The American Public Transportation Association has identified several common transit agency-controlled distractions that may impact bus or rail operators, maintenance employees, vehicle fuelers, and washers. These include dealing with communications equipment, agency authorized, route maps or route descriptions, vehicle equipment, workstations, fare boxes, onboard vehicle displays of schedule adherence. Transit employees and distracted driving. Across the United States, public transportation systems have been working with their transit employees to emphasize the importance of not driving while distracted. The The following have been observed as behaviors demonstrated by bus operators who drive while distracted. Missing bus stops, running red lights, weaving in and out of traffic, missing passenger fare payments, colliding with street fixtures, experiencing near misses with pedestrians and other vehicles. Unfortunately, many serious injuries and fatalities have resulted from accidents linked directly to bus driver distractions, as indicated by these headlines. Driver slammed into back of SUV. Bus operator texting. 49 injured as a result of bus operator texting while driving. Train engineer was texting just before California crash. 25 killed. The toll of driving distracted is enormous, resulting in human costs, death and injury, liability costs, prison time, community service, increased insurance premiums, physical costs and damages, cost to repair vehicles and property. Driving a transit vehicle is a challenging job. As a transit employee, you are constantly surrounded by possible hazards along routes. To safely accomplish your job, you need to stay continuously alert to avoid hazards. Don't drive distracted. Module 2. Consequences of distracted driving. What does distracted driving mean? Research reveals some surprising facts. Regardless of the type of distraction, driving while distracted is a serious threat to safety on the road. As a transit employee, you are a professional and have more experience than typical drivers. You are well versed in state and federal driving laws and are trained in defensive driving techniques, and you believe you are less likely to be affected by a distraction. You may think, what harm is there in looking down for a minute to send a text or answer my cell phone? The truth is that doing so is incredibly dangerous and against your agency's policies and could cost you your job. Industry concerns. The transportation industry considers distracted driving to be one of its greatest safety issues. Federal, state, public, and private transportation officials are working together to combat it through education, training, and enforcement. Module 3. Effects of distractions. Now that you have a clearer understanding of the issues surrounding distracted driving, let's review how driving distractions can affect your perception time, reaction times, and braking distance. Vehicle distance per second. When you are driving your vehicle, it moves at a certain number of feet per second. The faster your speed is, the more feet per second it travels. The formula to convert miles per hour to feet per second is 1 mile per hour equals 1.4666667 feet per second, or roughly 1.5 feet per second. For example, if you are traveling 30 miles per hour, you are covering 45 feet per second. Perception time. Perception distance is the amount of time from when your eyes first see a hazard until your brain recognizes the hazard. The average person has a reaction time of about 3/4 of a second. This means that from the time your eyes first see the hazard until your brain even realizes that it's a hazard, you have lost about 3/4 of a second. While this may not seem like a long time, it can add up to significant travel distances at high speeds. For example, if you're driving a bus on the freeway at 60 miles per hour, your bus will travel 66 feet, 1.5 bus lengths, before your brain even realizes something is wrong. Reaction time. Reaction time is the amount of time when your brain realizes something is wrong and then initiates a response. Just as with perception time, reaction time is usually about 3/4 of a second. That's another 66 feet at 60 miles per hour. The average undistracted driver at 60 miles per hour will travel more than 3 bus lengths before the foot moves to brake and actually begins pressing down on the pedal. Brake lag. Brake lag is a phenomenon specific to vehicles equipped with air brakes. With air brakes, there is an added delay, the time required for the brakes to work after the brake pedal is pushed. With hydraulic brakes, usually found on cars and light or medium trucks, the the brakes work instantly. However, with air brakes, it takes a little time. 1/2 second or more for the air to flow through the lines to the brakes. Braking distance. Braking distance is the distance a vehicle travels from when the brakes are completely engaged until it comes to a complete stop. Stopping distance. Total stopping distance is the total distance a vehicle travels from the time your eyes first see a hazard until the vehicle comes to a complete stop. It is made up of perception distance, reaction distance, brake lag, and braking distance. With an understanding of these factors, it becomes clear how many components contribute to the seemingly simple task of stopping a transit vehicle. It should also be clear that the addition of operator distraction to this equation could dramatically affect the ability to stop a transit vehicle in a quick and safe manner. All of the components of stopping distance in buses are also present for rail vehicles. This includes perception distance, reaction distance, brake lag, and braking distance. Some people have compared stopping a rail vehicle with stopping a piece of ice that's sliding on glass. This is because a steel wheel riding on a steel rail has a much lower coefficient of friction than a rubber tire on asphalt. This lower coefficient translates to a much longer stopping distance. When you add the higher speeds at which some rail vehicles operate, your stopping distance can be increased even more. Because of these reasons, it's critical that you avoid distractions while operating a rail vehicle. Module 4. Managing distraction. Everyone has a personal responsibility. With the increase of use of portable technologies, driver distractions have dramatically increased. We live in a world where people have access to instant, real-time information 24 hours a day. Those desires do not stop just because people get behind the wheel. Drivers simply do not realize the dangers to themselves and others that are posed when they take their eyes and minds off the road and their hands off the wheel and instead focus on activities other than driving. Common sense and personal responsibility are a major part of the solution. One of the U.S. Department of Transportation's campaign tools against driving distracted is "put it down and pay attention to the road." The risks are simply too high. Putting the phone down while driving will save lives and costs associated with crashes caused by distracted drivers. And because everyone is potentially affected when drivers are distracted, everyone must be part of the solution. Depending on your agency's wireless policies, personal electronic devices are prohibited from being brought onto the bus, or personal electronic devices are allowed but must be turned off and stowed off the operator's person and out of sight. These devices should be used only when the vehicle is parked and the operator is no longer sitting in the driver's seat. Non-electronic driver-controlled distractions, such as eating or drinking, grooming, or reading, can divert attention from safe driving. Both hands should be free to control the vehicle, with both hands on the steering wheel at all times. Passenger distractions. Bus operators should avoid unnecessary communications. If conversation cannot be avoided and you need to communicate with a passenger, you must do so while maintaining focus on the safe operation of the vehicle. Anytime the conversation impacts safe driving, you should pull the vehicle off the road to finish the conversation. Agency authorized or required equipment or material distractions. As a transit employee, you may need to refer to maps, directions, instructions, etc. to perform your job duties. These actions should be performed while the vehicle is stopped in a safe location. Should you need to communicate via the two-way radio, you must ensure that it is done in a safe manner. If necessary, stop the vehicle in a safe location while communicating with dispatch or other agency representatives. Module 5. Distracted driving rules, laws, policies, and definitions. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, is encouraging states and local governments to partner to reduce fatalities and crashes. You should be aware of the rules, laws, and policies of your state, your community, and your agency regarding distracted driving. your state's rules and regulations. To underscore the seriousness of driver distraction, many states have established laws and are prosecuting individuals who drive distracted. These same states are also instituting fines and/or prison time for those found guilty of driving distracted. As a transit employee, it is important for you to interpret, understand, and obey your state's rules and regulations on the use of wireless devices while operating a transit vehicle. Please make sure to check with your employer about your state's rules and regulations. Your agency's policies. Transit agencies throughout the United States are educating employees about the industry-wide issue of employee distractions. Joint labor and management recognition of the safety and liability implications are essential to establish effective mitigation measures. Your agency has developed policies and procedures that are well documented. Please check with your operations managers, supervisor, operator trainer, or employee operator manual about your agency's specific policies and procedures. Course summary. In this course, you learned about the key concept of distractions and the dangers of using wireless devices while driving. You learned how distracted driving affects your perception time, reaction time, and braking distance. You now know you have a personal responsibility to managing distracted driving by putting it down and paying attention to the road. Now that you have completed this course, you should be able to explore distractions, describe the consequences of distracted driving, recognize the effects of distractions, discuss managing distractions, and interpret distracted driving rules, laws, policies, and definitions.